to ask you just a few questions about the mechanics.
If the governor says it's all right, I don't mind.
Yeah, the only thing, Sheila, it's not an interview. We want to let other people ask questions too.
Okay.
If there are people that want to ask questions.
Yes, sir, I understand.
Why don't you take one right now, Sheila, and then we'll let somebody else, and we'll come back.
Is this another volunteer job for you?
No.
You're paid for this?
I'm being paid by BP for this. BP is funding the entire program, the entire facility. And the reasons are obvious. Who else would be expected to pay? You can't ask the citizens of Mississippi to pay for a program like this. You can't ask the federal government. You look to the wrongdoer, the one who's acknowledged responsibility, and that's I think the only way that you're going to set up a program like this. If you ever asked a citizen of Mississippi to have to pay to file a claim, that would pose such an obstacle to access to the program. You can't do that. So it's obvious to me that BP, yes, they have to fund this entire program.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, this is probably more a question for you. Some of the municipalities and local governments are worried that compensatory money issued by BP doesn't generate the same tax revenue as, say, a tourist renting a hotel room. And some of the municipalities
Our position is that BP will be responsible for paying the lost tax revenue as well. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that BP pays a hotel $100,000 for lost income, that they would be liable to the state for the taxes that would have been charged for that $100,000 of occupancies at the hotel. So it'd be subject to the state sales tax as well as to the hotel and motel tax that's collected on the coast. The taxpayers are clearly entitled to recover those losses as well as the losses for the individuals or the businesses. Molly?
Governor, is there anything here that is a short-term gap emergency money for the state and for local governments that they would serve?
Well, Ken doesn't have anything to do with that, but the fact of the matter is BP has made first $25 million available to the state for beginning of the cleanup effort. Now they've made another $25 million available. We took the first $25 million and asked the local governments for what they would like to do with it. Some of them have made applications and received money for doing things for protective measures. Additionally, BP gave us $15 million for advertising to try to help. You know, the biggest economic loss for Mississippi at this point has been the damage to our tourist business. Is the cancellations at hotels and motels, the restaurants that have lost businesses. If you take the tourism side and the fishermen, the shrimp processors, the charter boats, that's virtually all of the damage that we've had thus far in Mississippi. But it's real damage. I mean, it is significant. That comes under what Ken Feinberg's doing. The local governments come under the what's now $50 million of grants that have been made to us. And I should say to you, BP's made plain, they're not saying, here's $50 million and that's it. We are entitled to recover all of the losses, all of the expenses. And as Ken said, included in that is the cost of administering the programs that are needed to recover.
Governor, I wanted to ask your opinion on the president's appointment of Ray Mabus to head up a long-term Gulf Coast restoration plan.
I got no problem with the appointment of Governor Mabus. He's very capable, of course, knows the area. My concern is, what does this mean? If Governor Mabus, as was told to us yesterday by the White House, job is to be a facilitator in order to help us access resources, to be an advocate for our policies, that's very useful. If his job is to dictate a plan for long-range recovery to the Gulf states, that's not Washington's job. The Gulf states will develop their plan. Just as y'all heard me say many times about Katrina, we did a lot of things to help people on the coast see different ideas about the way they might rebuild. We had charrettes, we had experts come in, we had conferences, but from the beginning I said, we're not going to let Washington, D.C. and the federal government tell the coast how to rebuild, and Jackson and the state government are not going to tell the coast how to rebuild. How to rebuild the Gulf Coast is up to the people of the Gulf Coast. That's what we said after Katrina, and that's what it ought to be. And it's the same thing in the wake of this oil spill. It is not the federal government's role to tell us what the Mississippi Gulf Coast ought to be like, or the Louisiana, or Alabama, or Florida, or Texas. So if Governor Mabus is to be our facilitator, I think that'd be positive, and I look forward to working with him. If he's going to be the person to dictate the plan, then that's not the federal government's role.